Hello out there, ghouls and goblins, and welcome back to a special edition of A Coward Watches. It's your buddy Ryan, aka The Coward, and today we're going to be looking at Alfred Hitchcock's The Birds. And those of you who have been following along this experiment may think, why is The Birds so high up in this list? You were watching movies from the least scary to the most, and you had an expert panel telling you where the movie should fall. Why The Birds? Why is that so high? I have a lifelong and very serious, I know people will think I'm joking, very serious fear of birds. They freak me the hell out. I don't like being around them. I don't like when they fly too close to me. I am scared of them, and that includes everything from a giant emu, like at a petting farm, staring me down, to the tiniest of hummingbirds flying around me. They freak me out. I think they're going to peck my eyes out. I think they're going to kill me. And I think they want to do those things. I'm not sure when my aversion to our aviary friends began. I know when I was a teenager, my sister had two parakeets, Billy and Karen. And I would come in from work and they would be flying around the living room, or my mom would bring them up to me and be like, hey, what do you think of this? What do you think of this guy? And I would cower, and they thought it was funny. You know, they'd get a good laugh as big giant man cowers from a tiny bird. So maybe it was that. And then there was this bully named Kevin at my school. He poured molasses all over me and birdseed, and he pushed me outside into this homeless lady's flock of pigeons, and they were all over me. And every birthday, my family would get me a subscription to the Audubon Society. And I would say, I don't like watching birds. Why did you get me this? And they would take binoculars and shove them in my hands and push me out the door and say,
go watch some birds, bird boy, you little bitch.
Family sucks, man. Folks, I gotta tell you, this movie has everything. Counting crows, gaping eye sockets, Mitch, the square-jawed hunk, that thing that happened to Fabio, and a flock of seagulls. So we start off in a pet shop. Our main characters, Melanie and Mitch, meet each other. Mitch is looking for some canaries for his 11-year-old sister's birthday party. He's a lawyer who knows Melanie from one of his cases. He approaches her as a joke, trying to act like she works there. She thinks he's attractive and plays along with it. Store doesn't have any lovebirds. Mitch leaves. She's intrigued by him, so she gets the lovebirds herself. She tracks Mitch down, and she tries to leave the lovebirds at his apartment. His neighbor says, oh, he's out of town for the weekend. You don't want to be leaving those lovebirds there. He's in Bodega Bay at his family farm. She heads off to Bodega Bay, which is just a little portside village. She befriends the local school teacher, Annie, who we find out used to have a relationship with Mitch until his cold, distant mother, Lydia, drove her off. After dropping the lovebirds off at Mitch's farm and getting caught by Mitch in the process, a bird dive bombs Melanie right in the dome. They go into the local diner and they're fixing her up. That's when Mitch's mom, Lydia, comes in, and she seems very cold and distant, like she does not like this woman. Nonetheless, Melanie goes to dinner at their house, and Kathy begs her to come to her birthday party tomorrow. She agrees. At the birthday party, all hell breaks loose as a bunch of seagulls start dive bombing the kids. The kids are getting knocked down. They're just sitting there. Birds are pecking them. The adults are trying to rip them off of them. Mitch is punching birds left and right. They get all the kids to safety, and out of the chimney comes a ton of little, I don't know if they're sparrows or what, tons of little birds just everywhere, right? And they're swatting at them. They're trying to shoo him out the door. So with all this going on, Mitch thinks that Melanie should spend the night. If you know what I mean. They don't actually hook up there or anything. He just stays because of the birds. The next morning, Lydia goes to talk to this farmer in town. She finds him dead with his eyes plucked out. Oh, that's what... Lydia's completely freaked out. Mitch is dealing with the police. Melanie decides she's going to go to the school and get Kathy to bring her home and make sure she's safe. She goes to the school, and there are tons and tons of crows outside the school. And she hears that they're about to let out for recess. She runs in, she tells them, no, don't let out for recess. There's tons of crows out here. So they sneak out the front door trying to go really quietly, but some of the kids make noise, and the crows attack, and they're everywhere, and they're pecking the kids. They're clawing their faces up. Kathy goes off with the teacher, Annie, to her house. They're at the diner trying to plan out what to do. Mitch, Melanie, a bunch of the town Mitch, Melanie, a bunch of the townspeople, they're trying to figure out what to do. All of a sudden, there's more bird attacks. They attack a man that's pumping gas. He drops it. Another man's laying a cigar, blows up. There's a huge fire. And we're starting to see these bird attacks are causing the downfall of society.
Which is what I've been telling people for years. It's not just that they're going to peck my eyes out, they're going to peck all of your eyes out.
Mitch and Melanie go to get Kathy. They find out that the birds have attacked. Annie is dead. Annie saved Kathy by pushing her in the house. They get back to their farm and they decide, okay, we have to try to board up the farm and make it through the night so these birds don't kill us. And then tomorrow we can make a run for it. So it's like an old zombie movie. They're boarding up the windows. They're putting furniture in front of the doors. They got a fire in the chimney so nothing can come down the chimney. And the bird attack happens and it is freaky. They're busting through the door. They're like trying to nail boards and furniture to the door to keep them out. They're getting through weak spots in the ceiling. Mitch is punching them. Finally, the bird attack seems to end, and that's the way they go. They attack, and then they chill for a while as they get more reinforcements. Everyone's asleep except Melanie. She hears fluttering upstairs. She goes up, she opens the door. They've got into a little hole in there. They attack her. She's fighting them off. She's knocked out. Mitch gets up there. They save her. They pull her out of there, but she's like half catatonic. She's like so freaked out from it. Mitch is like, we got to get her to a hospital now. He walks out the front door and there's birds everywhere. Everywhere. Thousands of them just everywhere. On the ground, in the trees, on the power lines. So he walks real slowly through them. And if you're moving slowly and they're not on the attack, they don't seem to attack people. He makes it to the car. He turns on the radio and he hears these attacks are happening other places nearby too. And they're talking about the military having to come in and intervene.
It's spreading. I warned you. Don't say I didn't warn you. When this becomes reality, remember who told you it was going to happen. That fat guy on the internet.
Me. And so Mitch, Melanie, Kathy, and Lydia slowly make their way out to the car. They get in the car and they drive off. And the movie ends with just more and more birds flocking in and landing and watching them drive off. As you know, we give every movie that we watch here 2 ratings. One for quality, was it a good movie? And one for horror, did it make me piss my pants? And folks, I got to tell you, this movie's rating high in both categories. Quality, I'm giving it a 3.5. Of all the movies I've watched, it was so well put together. And I will say this, it's an older movie. It's the oldest movie I've watched as part of this experiment. It takes its time building to things. It really introduces the characters, the situation. So you do have to have some patience for it. But I found all that part very charming. I like the actors. Tippi Hedren is just, gorgeous, beautiful. Rod Taylor, who plays Mitch, he's got that square-jawed man's man. They're just great leads. You're drawn to them. Jessica Tandy's in this. She's Lydia. Even back then, she was like 115 years old. She's somehow the oldest person in this movie, even back then. But it's Alfred Hitchcock, who everyone knows has the reputation. He was a real jerk and a real a-hole, but he made some great horror movies, great psychological thrillers, and I think this is one of them. The way they build the birds up and make them such a threat, and it goes from something that could be very, very silly to being something that's absolutely terrifying when they attack the house and they're breaking through and stuff. It's really like a zombie movie or a horror movie. The birds are a monster. As for horror, I think if you're a normal person who is not deeply afraid of birds, this is probably in the 2.5 category. It is scary, and they do a good job building up the tension, maybe even a little lower. But for me, I'm giving it a 3.5, and you can take a point off of that if you want for your own personal viewing. It freaked me out. The whole movie, I was very tense, and when the bird attack scenes would happen, my toes would be tapping. I would be sitting there like this. I was so upset when they killed Andy, the school teacher, because I liked her character. It's a scary movie, and it made me tense. It made me sweaty. It made me freak out. So overall, that's a 7. That's the highest rated movie we've had so far. Can anything that remains unseated? We have some really good movies and some movies that I've heard are really scary. We'll find out. I want to thank you for watching. Please like, share, subscribe, all that kind of stuff. We'll be back again soon with another review. We got our top 4 coming up. And folks, to end today, I've decided I don't want to be afraid of birds anymore. I don't even want to talk about birds anymore. I'm not going to mention birds anymore. So I have a written statement here that I'm going to deliver to you to help me, and maybe you, if you're afraid of birds or anything, to get over it. And the title is, I'm Not Talking About Birds Anymore. Eagle-eyed viewers know that I'm swift to admit my faults. I'm not one to crow about my achievements or parrot the latest gossip. You'd have to be stark raving mad to act that way, a real cuckoo. And that isn't me. Even a fledgling viewer can see that when it comes to birds, I'm a chicken. I duck and run. I flock to safety. And frankly, acknowledging my fear has been hard to swallow. But today, I'm giving this fear up, cold turkey. Yes, this is my swan song. So if you have a fear, it's not a wild lark to think that you can overcome it. We can do it together. 2 can play this game. So go to the mirror, take a good gander, and realize that you are damn sexy.